All right, hello and welcome everybody. Happy Wednesday, June 25th or June 26th if you're on the other side of the globe and watching this from Asia or Australia where Nader is, or at least the Oceania area. You are here for Job Search Chess, how tech workers can win more interviews in 2025. Raise your hand if this describes you. It's been tough for you to find an interview and you're wondering if there are jobs out there anymore. It's going to be a lot of you. And so, what we're doing today is we're talking about how you can win more interviews and be strategic in this particular job market. It's a tough one out there. It's been the toughest one in many, many, many years. And I am very grateful that we have brought in a longtime Albert's List instructor, Nader Mowlaee, founder of Engineer Your Mission. He helps engineers with their careers and helps them develop strategies and so much more so that they can be successful. And he brings his blunt but loving attitude into the room so that you can all get the help that you need in order to be successful. So, without further ado, actually, before I do that, if you have any questions, put them in the chat. Stay till the end. We'll go through each of these questions one by one as they are received. And we're also going to have this recorded as well, so you can come back to it later and rewatch it once more. And now, without further ado, Nader, over to you. Thank you and
I
welcome back.
appreciate it, Albert. It's always good to be here. You and I have been doing this for years, and it's always a good experience. I always make amazing connections. The feedback is always good. I was telling you the feedback on the last presentation, which was on the same topic, uh, just different version, like an earlier version of it, version two. I've been working on this extensively since then. As you already know, I sell this training for $300 regularly, like I would say, a couple of times a week. So I still teach this. I work with individuals one on one. Here it's awesome because I'm able to make a bigger impact. Get in front of like what 44 people that we have right now. I think we had over 60 people last time. So just put this out there as a way to, for me, like selfishly enough, for me to test my ideas and my hypothesis. But at this point, we're in version three. I've been teaching how to build a job search blueprint for, you know, 12, 13 years. So it's not something new for me, but this version and using the tools and technologies that are available to us, particularly artificial intelligence, large language models, this is a this is a newer version. This is a new approach to for me. I started 2 years ago after I got prompt engineering certifications, got into using AI systems, large language models effectively. Started changing how I do what I do, how I run my business, all the operations, everything's changed. So I work much fewer hours, making more connections in those fewer hours, helping more people. So it's just been a series of optimizations, accelerations, and automations in my own world, in my own work, but also passing them along to the average job seeker that I work with, who is primarily the tech sector, either from an engineer background, somewhere in technology, IT, product. Again, I've been doing this for a decade and a half, so every job title that I've seen drop in the chat, I have direct experience working with. So this is a really comfortable crowd for me, including customer success, account management. That's really cool. But long story short, as I go into the 15th year of my experience as a career coach, my goal is to leave after 15 years and leave behind a good legacy. So the legacy that I want to leave behind is to pass on the ability for you, the average person here, and everybody out there to no longer need a career coach, because now we have access to intelligent systems, the most intelligent systems in the world. And the only barrier to entry, the only friction for the average person that I get to talk to is that they don't know how to use it. They don't know how to use it properly. They're not getting the results that they want. Yeah, they may have used Chat GPT, but they're still asking, like one short question at a time, very generic, high level, without clarifying exactly what it is they want to do and who do they want it to do it for. They're not organized in the way. They're not secure nor organized in the way they communicate with a large language model. So my goal here is to provide you a workflow. Is a three-step workflow. So three master prompts that you're going to link together. That makes it the three-step workflow that allows you to identify the right employers for you, crystal clear, highly targeted employers for you, fully verified and validated. So you're about to learn how to do that. And then identify who the right people for you are. Whom do you need to contact who has decision making power? We often call that person the hiring manager. So who is that hiring manager? How can we specifically find him or her? Because that's the person that makes a decision. And statistically speaking, majority of the new hires, are made by a hiring manager or by that key decision maker's decision. So right companies, right people, and the missing piece is the right message. What do I say to them? Your ability to communicate clearly and effectively, it makes all the difference. You could be talking to the right person at the right company. If you don't know how to communicate with them, if you're jumping to the conclusion, if you're just asking for a job, if you're being too early, too fast, too abrupt, too careless, too selfish, it's just not going to work for you. You know, when you go through approaching a company initially and then during the interview process, the recruiters and the hiring managers, the decision makers, the employers trying to get to know you, like you, trust you, and even respect you a little bit before they extend an offer to you. So as you make that initial outreach, you ought to know what you're responsible for, which is exactly the same thing. Give them that feeling of respect and trust, and make sure you're likable. So you got to communicate in a likable manner and ensure that they know you very clearly, very very authentically. So that's what I'm aiming to achieve here with you. Help you achieve with step number three specifically, which is around messaging and communication, and show you how to come up with personalized messages that are not, at least it does not start by talking about you. Because as soon as you reach out to employers and you're talking about you, you're immediately put in the same box with almost everybody else who comes across as selfish. All they care about is a job. They're too desperate, too needy. That drops your value and they move on from you. So if they can sense it, if they can smell it, if they can read it, and that's the type of message, that's how you communicate, you just lost the game. So the goal is to the goal is to not come across as that. The goal is to become selfless, to become mission driven, and to demonstrate to them, to convince them that you're not here because you want a job. Instead, you're here because you know who they are, what it is they want to achieve, what is their goal as a business, what is their mission. You clearly understand that you're communicating the challenges that that organization is facing on the path to achieve their goal, on the path to achieve their mission, and that's where you come in. You bring the skill sets, you bring the solution, help them overcome those challenges, avoid the negative consequences of failure in their business, and get the results that they want. So as we've always talked about in these conversations with Albert, it's if it's a private company, they need to make more money. If it's a publicly traded company, they need to increase shareholder value. It's all about business, money, revenue, and you're a piece of the puzzle that helps them become a profitable business. Cool? All right. So with that said, again, I love that I see a lot of hands. So you can definitely raise your hand up if you have any questions. That puts you kind of like in a sort of a priority list, so we can address your questions later. You're more than welcome to come join. Come on. Open your mic, put your camera on. We can have a conversation after that. We're about 15 minutes in. I'm probably going to present for a good 45 minutes to an hour, and I'm totally open staying, extra for us to answer as many questions as we possibly can. Cool. So with that said, I'm going to close the chat right now so I don't get distracted. I'm going to share my screen. Let's wait for it to pop up, and there it is. So you are going to get a copy of this. I'm just not going to drop it in chat right now because you will get distracted. This is the actual working document. This is what I share with my clients. This is what they pay $297 for. I spend 1 hour with them. You're going through the exact same training that I take an individual in. Now we're just making it at a massive scale, right? We have 51 people here right now. So I will go through this step by step. There's a three different steps or three different moves we gotta make to win more interviews, and that's the job search chess that I talk about. And this step by step guide is to ultimately help you build an action plan, or a playbook, I say here. I used to always call it the blueprint. I sell it as the job search blueprint. You may have seen that, my posts and stuff on my calendar. That's exactly what this is. And it is a smaller part of my entire coaching program. The job search system is just one of the components that I've taught, optimized, developed over the last 14 years. Over 1,000 primarily individuals who work in engineering or technology, and that's a wide array of people. It's actually just over 1,100 people now. And my background, I'm an electrical electronics engineer, specialized in robotics, developed a lot of software. So I worked in software, embedded software development, robotics controls. I took that experience, got into the job market at the second worst time ever, 2000 and 2008, when the last recession hit the markets. So I really struggled to get into robotics and manufacturing. So I got into telecommunication, did really well. I was responsible for supporting the first iPhone, when Steve Jobs was still with us. And that was a lot of fun working with enterprise, in network operation centers, enterprise data servers, and wireless communications, countrywide in major telcos. That was really cool. Then I took that experience, got into information technology, worked towards becoming a solutions architect, and being more on the technical sales side of things, working with customers and clients and vendors and suppliers directly in the corporate and healthcare teams. So a lot of good hands-on experience that my next job, which was an engineering and technology $1 million company for the first 2 years. In the first 2 years, at the end of the 2 years, I was a number one recruiter in Central and Eastern Canada. Long story short, I left the company, started my own business, hired a team of up to about 4 or 5 people we had at the time at an office in Toronto. And then again, longer story short, I got married, moved to the US, moved to LA where my wife was going to med school at UCLA. Started my second business, working for startups and a lot of different companies, but as a new recruiting firm. The startup scene is where I entered, so primarily California, north to south, all the way down to San Diego. And that was 8 years of recruiting, and I started coaching as well. Everything that I had heard being on the staffing side of things in the corporate world. Started coaching and recruiting for 8 years, did really well, lots of success stories. On my LinkedIn profile is nearly 200 recommendations I have from clients that I've worked with. So I highly recommend you check that out, so you can get some sort of, unbiased feedback aside from what I'm telling you today. But that's all that information led to all that experience led to me building systems like this and proving it over, hundreds, now over 1,000 people. So this is a proven system. And since COVID, I stopped recruiting because the job search system proved to be highly successful, very systematized, repeatable approach, like predictable way for you to get interviews and then job offers. There's only two steps or two phases to a job search. It's everything before an interview, everything after an interview. So you have to get interviews and you have to get job offers. Interviews and offers are the only two currencies that you should care about. The only two metrics to measure. Cool. Long story short, COVID happened. I stopped recruiting. I started just teaching this for 12 hours a day, right? And that's what brings you to today, mid 2025. And I really hope you enjoy this training. Now, you do need access to some sort of a large language model. Here I offer, or I recommend use ChatGPT o3 or Gemini, Google Gemini 2.5 Pro, which is actually my first preference since 2.5 Pro was released. Yeah, you can use a free platform. You can use DeepSeek. You can use really like anything. Anthropics models really doesn't matter, but I encourage you to do take that extra step. Either pay for ChatGPT $20 a month to get access to the o3 model. So that's like the PhD level insights, access to, search, analysis, all that good stuff. or Gemini's 2.5 Pro. Now you can use 2.5 Pro for free. It's limited access, or again, I think I pay $15 a month for it. Don't quote me, it might be $20 a month, but it's nothing. It's nothing to pay $20 a month for a PhD level expert who's PhD in all fields of work in your pocket. And in this application, you want to use it as your career coach. So you no longer need me or anybody like me. So again, that's the legacy that I want to leave behind, which is why I've built systems like this. This is the second system I'm building. I've built and, teaching it, passing it out there. So one day, maybe a year and a half from now, I can just walk into the sunset, be happy that I've built systems that individuals can use by themselves without having to pay thousands of dollars to a career coach. And yeah, after that, I'm likely going to be running an AI company, a software company, which is what I'm working on right now, or I'll be living on a farm somewhere with a bunch of chickens and goats, which is just what I really want to do. Cool. So, anyways, with that said, there's three different things we got to do here, as I briefly mentioned today. We're going to target the right employer. So the goal is to find, I would say, 10 best fit employers. 10 is plenty. Don't get carried away with putting lists of like 50, 100 companies together. It's impossible to actually target those many companies in one month or one job search period, which on average might take you 2 to 3 months. 10 is amazing. Likely you're going to go through this move one more time to find another 10 if necessary. But if you were to really focus in and narrow it down on 10 companies and go all into those 10, the goal is to interview in about half of those companies, 3 to 5 of those companies, and get 1 or 2 job offers. That's what the averages often work out to be. So that's move number one. Yeah, no, takes no more than 10 minutes. That's probably a little bit, yeah, it might just take 5 minutes. But hey, the first step, I know it's a little bit of a more can go through it more work. So 10 minutes, I doubt a little bit of a downhill, accelerated approach to move number two. Takes about 5 minutes to make a list of the hiring managers, another 5 minutes to generate a 3 message sequence or a 3 message outreach system. And that's what I was briefly telling you. You should not start about you, it's not even about you. It's about what the company does, who they do it for, what problems do we solve, how do we change, what is the change we're making in this world or in that market, what challenges are between that company's current situation, current status, and where they need to be. And you come in, you join a team that helps move the ball forward to go from where they are to where they want to be. So just keep in mind, you'll hear me repeat that again. It's not about you. None of this stuff is about you. As soon as you make it about you, you 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 give this vibe, this selfish, self-centered, desperate vibe, and recruiters or employers are trained to look for that, to probe for that. They'll smell it, they'll vibe it out, like they'll feel it. You know what I mean? It comes out in your body language, it comes out in your tone of voice, and likely it'll come out in the words that you're using, which is the worst. So today, at least what I can do is to help you use the right words, which is the smallest part of what you communicate or how you communicate. The more important one is the tone of your voice. What does it sound like you're saying? What does it sound like? What you're saying, what does it sound like? And then what do you look like when you're saying it? Like, do you truly mean it, or are you just saying it? So again, we're going to take care of the words. This whole thing should not take you more than 20 minutes after this training for you to, every time you run this, I would say 20, maximum 30 minutes. If it's taking you longer, send me a message on LinkedIn. You're doing something wrong. Go back, watch this video again. Anyways, before we go a little bit deeper, I always like to share Spencer's testimonials. It's live on my LinkedIn profile, on my services page, so you can go and connect with Spencer, read his entire testimony he wrote for me. But it was pretty cool because as a technical project manager working in an IT company, he came to me about a year ago saying, "Hey, you know what? Uh, you know, cost of living's going up. I've been talking to my wife, her family's in Mexico. We regularly travel. We're just trying to perhaps get out of here. And I still want to work for a US firm, but remotely. Is this something you can help me with? It's been something I've really struggled with." So he went through the exact same process to find the right medical tech, med tech companies, specifically in this case, like There's a lot of IT firms that specialize in offering, med tech solutions or health tech solutions. So that was something that he hadn't even thought about. He was just going after like, I'm gonna find remote jobs, which I see the people doing that. I see advertisements. Oh, come to our website. We are the best place for remote jobs. Yeah, right. You know, it has to be the right company. So we went through move number one to find and target companies that actually are currently employing, IT PMs in a remote function. So we have to verify and validate that role. Then we moved on to the second step. It's like, okay, how can we find the people who are actually managing that team, who are leading that team, regardless of who they are? They're likely not going to be in Mexico, but let's find out who that person is so we can reach out to them directly. And then with the right message, with the right approach, he ended up getting interviews and offers in the exact same company, in the company that he hadn't expected, but he's now living, happily in Mexico, is still in the same job. So it's just a success story to share. One of many. There's a couple of hundred of them on my LinkedIn profile, so go check them out. But I definitely want to give him a little bit of a boost here because I know you guys are gonna connect with him, so I know he likes it. Anyways, I love this quote by Mark Twain. The secret to getting ahead is getting started. So that's what I'd like to share with you before we dive right in, because I'm gonna sprint through this part a little bit faster. So I don't need to go, I don't want to go into sort of the nitty-gritty of things. We can talk about that perhaps after this conversation or one-on-one during our LinkedIn DMs. But you guys are here, you just got to use it. You're about to go through this training. You're going to get access to this exact same documents. You're going to have the video recording, and you're going to have access to me on LinkedIn. If you have any questions and something needs to be clarified, yeah, please do reach out and let me know. This is version 3, so I'm pretty sure I've smooth out everything because I've been getting a lot of feedback on it. Something didn't make sense as people are using it. Last time we ran this for version number 2, multiple people got interviews within days. So please let me know that stuff because like first of all, it boosts me, it makes my day, but it also allows me to figure out like to identify like what worked best for most people. As I want to make version 4, version 5, make it even better and better. But the goal is for you to actually, I followed up with some people, and they're not using, oh, I have another time to, come on, man, 20 minutes, if you do it one time, 20 minutes, second time, 20 minutes, next time it's going to take you 10 minutes because now you've used it. And please, please, please don't get into the habit of just going online on a job board and just applying for the next job opening. It's not really a job opening, it's just a job advertisement. Keyword advertisement. Likely not a real job. It's actually not a position like open waiting for you. They're just advertising for it. Some fill the positions and they advertise just to show that, hey, we're growing. But there's no job. They've already reached out to the right person, hired them directly. So the job boards, as you pretty much all of you should know or have unfortunate experience, it's kind of like a black hole, it's the void. You want to stay away from it as long as you possibly can, unless you have a referral. Someone tells you, yeah, that job is open. We're recruiting for it. Go ahead and submit an application for it. If you've already had that interaction with a recruiter or a hiring manager, hopefully through the 3-step system that I'm about to show you today, then yeah, sure, go ahead and apply online after they share that link with you. Otherwise, don't get into this lottery mentality. I'm just going to go on Indeed.com, search for technical project managers and see what comes up. I'm just gonna submit 10 applications today because it's really cool. Like that's the right thing. We just have to submit more applications. No, you don't. You need to take very small, short, specific moves to get to the right people in the right company with the right message. Long story short, that's something I'm very passionate about. So I'm trying not to get too emotional about it because I feel every one of your pain, in terms of, struggling with the job market, struggling to get interviews, struggling to get job offers. I've been through it myself. I've been through it on the recruiting side of things. I'm in it on the coaching and guidance side of it, and I take on your pain. So I totally get it. I want to give you the tools. I'm going to give you the keys. You just have to use it. So with that said, let's begin with move number 1, which is just identifying and targeting your ideal employers. Now, the goal here is to build a laser focused list of companies that hire people with your skills, not a list of companies that are currently advertising with people that are advertising for jobs that match the job title that you're going after. So if you're data analyst, data scientist, solution architect, senior director, I don't know, I think Anil said senior director, but I didn't catch what type of director, like what type of field. So let's say IT director, whatever it is, if you're just searching for that title, yeah, you're going to come up with a bunch of advertisements, random companies, because you don't have control over what companies are going to come up in your ad search results. You're going to be pulled in all kinds of different directions, all kinds of different industries. But in this case, we want to think about this as, okay, this is the opening move. This is the first step. I want to define my job search strategy by picking a specific industry, by picking a specific sub industry or a niche. Maybe it's a product category. Maybe it's a slew of technology. Um, I'm pretty sure there was an AI engineer here that I connected with. Forgot your name, but we'll definitely connect. What type of AI? What type of solution? What does it help? What does it impact? Earlier today, we were looking at speech therapy. So, uh, kind of like speech pathology. So, if you guys know what a speech pathologist does, help people with speech therapy. There's an AI for that now, just like there's an AI for everything. So, if you have had, let's say, some experiences, familiarity, and interest with what the speech pathologist does, and you want to help create solutions, AI solutions that helps the speech pathologist do what he or she does, or ultimately replace what a speech pathologist does, then that's a very clear mission, and you can, if and when you're driven by that mission, it allows you to set yourself in the direction, in a clear direction. So that's what I mean by a laser focused list of companies that hire people like you with your skill sets, having the mission that you actually resonate with. And then we have to search for individual people in those companies that have the same skill sets as you. Cool. So let me take you through this interactive prompt. So again, interactive, why? Because I don't want you to need a career coach. Now this is beginner friendly, although if I show you the prompt, it's going to look overwhelming in the beginning. And you don't really need to understand the prompt. You will, but don't feel like you have to fully understand how this was structured and built. No, you don't need to. You copy paste it, drop it into ChatGPT o3, Gemini, DeepSeek, Claude, whatever. So you just need to follow the prompt because it is interactive, and you're instructing it to coach you and guide you through the process in order for you to find the right companies. Cool. With that said, let me walk you through it. I'll quickly, spell everything out. I'll move on to move number two. We'll do this. We'll talk about the goal a little bit so you understand why is it important, what to do, what not to do. We'll do the same thing with move number three. Then we'll come back on camera off the screen and we'll chat about it. Cool. So first things first, every prompt has multiple sections, multiple areas. You have to define who you are, what your role is. You have to give the AI or the platform, the LLM you're using, a specific role, a specific task. You have to let it know what to do, what not to do. So what are some of the filters out there? You need to instruct it when to act, what information to gather from you, how to guide you. So there are few steps you got to go through. It's not just about, hey, I'm a technical project manager. I'm looking for jobs. What are the best companies for me? Or, here's my resume. Can you find what are the best companies for me? That stuff doesn't work because it's just way too vague. You have to clearly define everything. So this is how we go about it in this prompt. So this is, again, you want to basically copy paste everything from here. Everything you see in green, you basically copy paste, you drop it into your Chat GPT or your Google Gemini and just follow the followings. Just you go through the steps because it is interactive. It's going to start asking you questions and gather information from you based on specific questions asked one at a time. But first, we need to assign a task. So you are a career research assistant with 10 years of experience in recruiting analytics, real-time knowledge of funding trends, growth stage companies, and niche hiring patterns. You have the skills. You have the skills for asking only what matters to recommend high fit. A calm, strategic tone design to help users clarify, not impress. We can keep, and likely in the future versions, I'll keep adding to these bullet points to further define the role we're assigning to our large language model, to your AI. But it's very important for us to dictate what that role is, so we can put the boundaries and put it in a bubble, put it in a box, so it behaves exactly as we want it to. Otherwise, I don't want to say that it will hallucinate, but it's you leave that AI's role open for interpretation, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So, often it doesn't. Often it's not accurate enough, and that's where you might feel like, oh, this is not working for me. It's not because it's not working for you. It's because you're not clarifying exactly what you want. So I like longer prompts, multi-step prompts, and often when I see it's a longer prompt, I'm like, okay, that's pretty accurate. I like to use that. But there's also a pattern out there, like Instagram posts, and it's like, oh, these are the top 10 prompts, and every prompt is like 3 sentences, and apparently this is like the master prompt. Like, it's not. You know, you need to have a conversation with this system, just with clear expectations, clear outlines, but a conversation that allows both of you to be engaged and gather information and clarify things. Like, it is a conversation, which is why I was saying this might take 10 minutes of just chatting back and forth, whether you're chatting or you're using a notation or doing the voice interaction. It's a bit of a conversation. That's the same type of conversation I would have sitting in front of someone, acting as their career research assistant or career coach or counselor or giving them guidance. I have to ask you a bunch of questions. In this case, we're instructing this platform or the platform you're going to use to ask us those questions, having clarified exactly who we want them to be. Now, who we are, this is the user instructions. We want to upload, obviously upload your resume, paste your LinkedIn profile content. If if you don't know how to save your entire LinkedIn profile into a PDF document, I'll show you guys at the end, but that allows you to provide so much information, provides more context. So you want to respond to ChatGPTs or your AI platforms questions honestly. You want to provide them in short answers or bullet points. You don't need to get too detailed because it just don't tell your whole life story. Sometimes it helps if you have it summarized and clear and concise, but don't get into too much of it. If you're not sure, definitely say I don't know when it's asking you questions, or I'm not sure, and it will help guide you. And that often comes up, and this is what extends the amount of time you're going to spend in this first conversation. But don't make it up. If you don't know the answer to any of the questions it's going to ask you, because it'll go through a Socratic type of questioning, open the questioning, gathering insights. If you're not sure, don't make it up. Don't guess. Let it ask you further probing questions. Because this is where my capabilities as a career coach comes in, to allows me my ability to ask you the right questions in the right order and probe more and not give up if you're not giving me the good answer. Like, okay, well, you know what I mean? I'll figure it out. It's like, no, I need us to have this conversation. Maybe you need to go and do a little bit of your due diligence. Me thinking about the conversation we had, and maybe we need to get back together. So if you're not sure, it will guide you, and that's the goal. Obviously, avoid exaggerating or guessing. Whenever you're answering questions, that's pretty straightforward. But again, this instruction is for you. And again, as I build new formats, new versions, I can see myself providing more guidelines here so you know what to do, what not to do. Move on to the task. The AI's task is to ask me one question at a time to understand my strongest and most marketable skills, roles I'm targeting or open to, industries, technologies, impact areas I care about, preferred work format, remote, hybrid, on-site, any specific career goals, pivoting, upskilling, stability, salary, leadership, relocation, like whatever you want. We can keep adding to this, but it's just pretty detailed enough. Whether I fall into any of these categories, am I a career changer? Am I returning for work? Am I, coming back after mat leave? Am I entry level? Got no experience. I'm a director, want to be a VP. I'm a manager, want to become a director. If I'm changing industries, there's a lot of things that we can prompt it, we can include it as a task. Just keep in mind, this is a great framework for you to follow. And if you think of, you know what, again, like I was saying, I'm coming after mat leave. I had someone reach out to me. I'm coming back to the workforce after 12 years of homeschooling. Like, that is so unique. So I put that in the prompt for her. Um, Just think about it. If you feel like there's a certain category or scenario that you fall into, share with me at the end of the session, or again, you can DM me. We can further personalize this, to fit your scenario. Anyways, long story short, keep each follow-up question around 15 words. So we want it to be crystal clear, not too wordy, so it doesn't become confusing. And if something is unclear and missing, ask before recommending, and never assume or fabricate anything. Cool. Now, the filters I was briefly mentioning earlier. So these are optional filters you may want to ask about. Use these if relevant. Preferred company size. Do I like startups? Do I like large enterprises, privately held, publicly traded? Any industries to avoid, type of companies to avoid, specific companies you don't like. The other day I was like, oh, I don't like Tesla. I'm like, great, just say, hey, don't recommend Tesla, for whatever the reason, you want, or you know what I mean? If you don't want to target the government sector or the federal sector, actually it was the other around we had it, I really want to get into the federal. I'm like, cool, ask for it. Just personalize your prompt further. You know, I need sponsorship. I don't need sponsorship. I have my green card. I'm a citizen. I'm a citizen, but I was born in this country. I'm targeting aerospace companies. What do I say to that? I'm like, well, just put it in the prompt, So we can we can go really deep further personalizing these, If you're passionate about a certain thing, from DEI to climate change to health to AI, the list is long. So look at these prompts, like what I'm offering you in this version 3 of this job search masterclass, as a place for you to start. You run it once or you read it once, you can personalize it. You run it once, you're like, okay, I can see where the gap is for me. I don't like these companies you recommended. I don't like this it keeps recommending this industry to me. It's actually not good for me. You need to go back to your prompt and further personalize it. Cool. So again, that's something I can help you with. But it should be pretty straightforward. So from there, when ready, output this table. So this is what the output's going to be like. It's going to deliver a 20 row. This should be 10. So here, this is me catching my own mistake. So 10, 20, depending on what we instructed above. A 10 row table of high potential employers based on my skills, career goals, today's job trends, and growth signals. Company, likely job title, and why it fits. So I love this part, because you need to figure out why that job title is being recommended to you by this AI. And this is where a lot of light bulbs still for me, because this is like, for me, this is a time consuming part. I've always done it like this. I recommend this company to you. These are the job titles, and it normally does about three. These are three job titles that I researched and find. They currently have people like that in their staff that resemble you, and I gotta explain why. So why I believe this job at this company is a good fit for you. So this makes my life so much easier. This prompt when I use a version of this. Filter rules again about companies laying off. This is so important. This is also why I want you to use a better AI, more advanced AI, like a paid version of ChatGPT using the O3 model or using Google Gemini's 2.5 Pro that has access to search, to resources online, has a really deep thinking or reasoning model that can actually figure this stuff out and filter the companies that are laying off or shrinking, that have frozen their hiring. You know, the regular ChatGPT 4.0 is probably going to skip this area or not even address it. Or this is where the hallucinations may come in. They might tell you some things like, oh yeah, target this company. You find out, oh, what the hell? This company has been laying people off forever. It's like, well, the model you were using didn't even have access to this information. So they didn't flag it, but just assume that this company is not laying people off. So you got to be able to use a better model. Uh, Prioritize companies growing, obviously hiring or recently funded. Again, that needs to be researched. That needs to be looked into by the AI platform you're using. It's critical. Align suggestions to my actual skills, stage, and direction, and no generic lists or best workplaces. Because some of these articles you see, oh, best places to work at. Microsoft is best, and then you realize, oh, they've been laying off thousands of software engineers. So like, is it the best time for me to contact Microsoft? Perhaps not. Although everybody wants to work at Microsoft, an amazing company, but you need to do your due diligence and go through a multi-step process to make sure it's the right place for you, but not just because it's like a great place to work at. It's like I want to work for Google. Why? Because they're Google. That's not a good reason. It's not a good excuse. Anyways, long story short, I always this is where I bring my insights in. So as a bonus coaching value, and we always want to share, end with this, share three uncommon job search advice most people overlook. This is where you separate yourself from others. This becomes your differentiating factor. This is ultimately where a coach like me can come in and give you hands-on and deep industry insight, but hands-on support. Like, okay, you're gonna have to separate yourself from the crowd, and if you keep doing the same thing that everybody else does, you're gonna get the same results that everybody else does, which is you need to do something different to stand out. So what is a different thing? The thing that most people overlook. Let's do that, because all you have to do is do a little bit of that to stand out and get an interview. Next is just one high leverage action I can take this week to start a conversation or test how good of a fit I am. And obviously, you can change these numbers. I think this is just more than enough, but obviously, you can make a list of 10 uncommon advice. Again, if you get into 10, then it's no longer uncommon. Anyways, then stop. No further responses or questions. So as you see, this is a long prompt. There's a lot that's being communicated and asked for. If you run this in ChatGPT o3 or Google Gemini Pro, it might think for a whole minute, which is a lifetime in the AI world. So just let it do its thinking, let it do its work. If it's taking 2 minutes, just calm down and relax. It's fine. It's just doing the research for you. Cool. Now, as you're doing that, as you're getting the results, these are some of the things as you're looking at the results. A few different things I want you to look for or watch out for, just so you're aware of it. I won't read through them right now. I'll let you read through this by yourself, but just not red flags, but things to watch out for. Like, hey, consider this over that, or be careful for this because it's not always like that. So I'll let you study that by yourself. Cool. With that said, let's go through move number two. Now, assuming you have a list, you have a table with 10 companies, three potential job titles, and reasons why you fit those job titles. Gives you clarity, gives you clear direction. Because at this point, all you need to do is to go to that company's page on LinkedIn. And the next step is to go to the list of employees. You click on the employees in that company. Now you have a long list of everybody in that company, employees of that company who have a LinkedIn account. And the most impactful, the most effective way to job search is to get that referral, which is obviously that's what we're going after. That's the thing that most people overlook because it's difficult. Either they don't know who to contact at which company, or even if they know those two, they don't know what to say, or they say something and they're just wrong message. Uh, repels people. So let's find the right people, then we can reach those decision makers with the right message that we develop in move number three. So obviously the goal here is to know exactly who inside that company can hire you. This is likely going to be the person you're going to be reporting to, the person who will sign the bottom of the offer letter, and we're just looking to position ourselves in front of the right people uh, with the right message that's coming up. Cool. Yeah, so certainly at this point you can save and reuse this. Different companies, you're going to do this once per company. You know, let's go through the second. Again, it is interactive. It is beginner friendly because all the hard work's been done for you. You don't really need to even read this. Just copy paste it, send it to you because now we're programming ChatGPT to start asking you questions, taking you through the process, do the research for you, come up with you with a list of potential hiring managers, and locate who those decision makers are. So you are a LinkedIn and org chart expert. It's really important for us to clarify that because different companies have different organization charts, different titles, who reports to who. We need to clarify what exactly we want this AI like ChatGPT, Google Gemini to be to perform as. So with specific experiences, job search mastery, job market projections, economical pattern recognition. I even here had like global politics, global macroeconomics, and things like that. I have a client, Zach, who's looking for jobs in Munich. He's in Indianapolis, but again, he's looking for jobs in Europe. So if I'm running this, I haven't got here with him yet, but when we get here, now we need to understand what's happening in Europe, in the European Union. There's a war happening there. Where do you want to go? Where do you want to be? What's happening with the companies? If you don't have local knowledge, you need to prompt your AI to acquire that knowledge, to tap into those resources. Next is deep knowledge of how functional organization charts works across all internal teams, public org patterns, title logic, and a helpful guide who avoids assumptions and verifies title alignment with real world structures. Cool. So this is us mandating who we want this AI to behave as and what we wanted to know. Cool. Again, this list, I foresee myself in version 4 and 5 continue providing more bullet points on here to dictate exactly what we want this AI to be, and how to behave. Your role. So my role, user instructions. Paste your 20 companies. Again, this can be 20. Seems like I'll make that change here. Paste your 10 company table from prompt number one. Uh, so this can be one shot. Is that here's 10 companies, do all the research, get all the job titles for me. This takes a little bit longer, but you can do it individually. That's totally fine too if you want to have it done quickly. But might as well just upload the whole thing, use a thinking, deep reasoning model, give it some time, let it do its research, and then copy all that information into your own document in a Google Doc and just save it. Respond to clarifying questions in short answers, bullet points, or simple phrases are fine. If you're not sure about something, say, I don't know. We'll figure it out, help you figure it out, walk you through it. And don't try to research anything yourself. Let ChatGPT or your AI platform of choice handle the targeting logic. Cool. From here, what is the task? So the task, let's say ChatGPT's task here is to ask you simple follow-up questions to identify who the most relevant decision makers are for each company. Example, would this role report to product engineering or operation leadership? Again, this is just the sample questions that it's going to ask you, just to provide more clarity, more context to the AI platform. And then use LinkedIn people, news tabs, logic, and your org chart knowledge to spot likely managers. If I respond with I don't know, I'm not sure, offer reasonable options based on the context, don't guess. Only include titles relevant to my target role and function. And in this case, we want to avoid anyone in administration, anyone in recruiting, anyone in HR, anyone in talent acquisition. You can add that here as well. They are influencers in the process of hiring. Their primary function is to eliminate you from the hiring funnel, from the recruitment funnel. I've talked about this all the time because I did that for a decade. A recruiter does not go through a process based on selection. If I receive 100 resumes, I'm not going through them trying to select the top 5 resumes. That's physically impossible. My goal is to eliminate the bottom 95. That's how it's done, and you're left with the last remaining 5, which are naturally the top 5. So just understand that it is a process. It's an elimination process you're going through when you're targeting, when you're applying online, going through an applicant tracking system, because that's how that system is designed or programmed, or a recruiter. If you send me 10 resumes, I'm not looking for who's best. I'm just going through them. Oh, I find one reason why this resume is crap, get rid of it. As I go through this next one, I'm not sure about this one. I'll put it back at the bottom of the pile. Next person, I'm just trying to find any reason why I can eliminate this resume. If I can find that reason, I'll get it out of my list. So I keep shrinking and shrinking and eliminating the list to be left with whatever the last number is. If I want 3, as soon as I get down to the bottom 3, or the last 3, or the top 3, it really doesn't matter. The remaining 3, those remaining 3 resumes are the ones that I'm going to reach out to. Cool. Anyway, just another example. Examples are extremely important to your prompts. So examples that should make it titles are, for example, the director of engineering, product director, head of R&D, VP of operations. Again, these titles can be, related to you. I mean, a lot of you guys are in tech or engineering or analytics, so this should all make sense, but we can provide more examples. For example, if you're a solution architect, you know, It's like, okay, who did I report to last time? Okay, it was our RT director, it was our CTO, chief technology officer. You can add that stuff in there, you know. But again, for the sake of, you know, these are intelligent systems, as long as we provide an example of what we are expecting from it, it'll do its job well. Avoid, again, titles like that. Cool. Optional filters, again, use if relevant. This is our instructions to, let's say, ChatGPT, is to prefer only managers and above. You know, so leads, supervisors, skip them. You know, they're likely not going to be making hiring decisions. Prioritize alumni from schools or past companies. So you having uploaded your resume and your LinkedIn profile summary, there's content in there, there's context in there that can be leveraged. You know, if someone went through the same school as you, yeah, show me that stuff. You know, show me those guys. If someone used to work in a company that you used to work at, yeah, like that's higher priority. You know, show me that stuff. Prioritize that stuff. LinkedIn actually has a feature that most don't know about. When you're doing people search, you can pick which you can choose to only be shown people that used to work for certain companies, companies that used to work at, that now are working in another company. So let's say you used to work at Tesla and now you want to apply to Apple. You can set that up. Only show me hiring managers that used to work at Tesla, but they are now currently at Apple. So Apple successfully hired them, or they successfully transitioned from Tesla to Apple. We can we can set that up in LinkedIn in their filters, you know, and narrows down a list of probably thousands or hundreds of people down to a few that have direct, you know, relationships with you, that have full understanding of where you're coming from, and have themselves successfully transitioned over from one specific company to another specific company. Only include contacts in US based offices. So again, yeah, if you're looking for US base, fantastic. If you want to move to Canada, great. You know, you focus on Canadian companies. If you want to go to Munich, Germany, you know what to do. What the output's going to be, it's pretty straightforward. Is for each company provide, you know, the structure. So decision maker title 1, 2, 3 if relevant. Normally, yeah, it does come up with every search I've done. It gives you three job titles. You know, likely there's going to be more than three job titles. So yeah, you can go higher than that. But I think three is plenty for you to start your search. Make your outreach, and from there on, get guided or referred to someone else who's perhaps better suited for you. All right, so repeat for all 10 companies, no commentary, summaries, or closing messages. Cool. Ending it with that bonus coaching value. So I always, as a coach, you know, I want to make sure I put a cherry on top of the cake. And if I'm working with you one on one, or in this case through a prompt, I want to make sure you get, you know, you get that extra, you get an extra, you know, something different, that extra competitive advantage, something that makes you, you know, it shows that you know, went above and beyond that extra mile. So here are three advanced tips to pinpoint real decision makers on LinkedIn. I can show you this in at the end of the conversation if you're interested in, but this is pretty straightforward. You know, so you want to search one or two levels above your job titles. That's often where the hiring managers are. So if you're a manager, you're likely going to be reporting to a senior manager or a director. You know, so I would say if you're a manager, connect with directors and VPs. If you're a software engineer, connect with engineering managers and engineering directors. You know what I mean? If you're a data analyst, you want to connect with analytics managers and, you know, head of data science or something like that. You know, so again, one or two levels above is great. You know, you want to use filters. This is what I can show you later on. But there's two or three maximum filters you need to use at a basic level in LinkedIn. That's the current company, function keywords or title keywords, and the location. This should actually be title keywords. Yeah, keep finding mistakes I made. To reveal the hidden leads, and then click see all employees on LinkedIn page to find titles not shown in the job description. That's pretty straightforward. One smart move to level up your search. This is that extra thing, the uncommon advice that I often share. You know, use the past employees filter to find ex employees who held, you know, your job titles. It's kind of like what we were talking about, right? Hey, if you're targeting the same company, XYZ company, let's see if we can find people that used to work at one of these companies they used to work at, because that's the common denominator you guys are going to have together. Or if they're an alumni, if you guys went to the same school, you went to Berkeley, they went to Berkeley, yay, you know, let's find all the people who went to Berkeley And let's even narrow it down to people who were past employees of one of these ex-employees of the past companies that you worked at. You know, boy, I keep finding mistakes. Past company. Cool. Check who they are connected to, report to. Again, this is pretty straightforward. Reminder: LinkedIn isn't perfect. Always verify whether these individuals especially lead or influence the hiring process when reaching out. So you will identify that during the first or the second message. If the person has a manager title but doesn't make any technical, like doesn't make any hiring decisions, that person is likely going to be like a senior PM, senior technical program manager. They might actually be just an individual contributor, although they have that manager title, and it will come up in search results. So you might have to go a level above that, go and connect with the PMO director, director of program management, head of program management, so I can be aware of that. That's what that reminder's for. Five different things to watch out for. I'll let you read through those since we're running out of time, but they're pretty straightforward. Some of those may surprise you. So again, interested to see if you resonate with those, or if any of those surprise you, or you know even interest you. Anyways, long story short, we're about an hour in, so let me go through this third one as well, to help you understand how do we communicate clearly and confidently. We'll go through the prompt as we just did in the first two prompts, so you understand the logic, but the messages themselves are going to be fully personalized to you and to the person you're sending it to. So there are no sample messages here. There's just no point of putting a sample message here if it doesn't resonate with you. The whole goal is to get started, get using it, find the right companies, specify who the right people are, uh, provide full clarity and context in terms of who you are, and then go through this third prompt to to find the right messages. And yeah, that's how you start genuine conversations that convert to interviews. The type of conversations that it's not about you. You come across as selfless. You come across as someone who's just not looking for another job so you can get more money or start making money again, or that you're gaining new skills that you can later on use in your career. You become a better version of yourself. Like, that's the common answer I hear. It's like, that's not good enough. They don't care about you and your career and what skills you're gonna make. They care about if they're publicly traded, how are you gonna make them, grow shareholder value and make a better product, or if they're privately held, how can you help them grow as a business? How can you help them solve specific problems? So your goal when you're communicating to people is to not talk about yourself, especially initially. Don't talk about yourself. Talk about the problems that you can solve for them, the problems that they have that you're familiar with that can actually be solved by you. So one of my lines, and I got to frame that: don't talk about yourself, talk about the problems you solve. Uh, Keep that in mind. That's the logic of it. The prompt itself that helps you create those three message LinkedIn outreach messages is: you're an expert LinkedIn messaging coach with proven copywriting experience that delivers 25% response rate. And 25% is like, whoa, how so good, I don't think I've ever got 25%, but sometimes, a few times I heard back is like, why 25%? Why not 80? Why not 100? Because that's physically impossible. The average results we get are about somewhere between like 15 and 20%, with the exact same prompts when I do that. But 15 to 20%, it's like 5 to 8 times higher than the average results that, like, the average person gets on LinkedIn, which is somewhere between like 1 to 3% response rate, which is terrible, but that's common. That's average. You want to push that up to somewhere between 15 to 20. And if you ever get like 25% or 30%, time to celebrate. You know what I mean? You just had a great day. So that's where the 25% come in. So make sure it's reasonable. We don't want to be hallucinating when we're assigning a task. Next is mastery of casual peer-to-peer tone that respects busy inboxes, a gift for writing curiosity hooks, soft asks, and friction-free follow-ups, and a focus on value-first networking, not job begging or salesy pitches, which is what I was saying. Don't talk about yourself. Talk about the problems you solve. And it better be the problems that they're facing that you're able to fix. That's value first. sharing that clarity, sharing that understanding, demonstrating to them you're mission driven, telling them, showing them that you have done your due diligence. You know who they are, what they do, what they make, who they make it for, who their end user is, what problems do they have, how does this product or this system or this solution or this technology, how does it help them? What happens if we don't approach? What happens if we don't solve those problems? What are the negative consequences? Because that's the thing that drives me. The negative consequences of you guys not doing this is you applying to a job or reaching out to a person with a crappy message and not hearing back, getting ghosted, not getting interviews. I don't want you to go through those negative consequences, which is why I'm driven to build systems like this and give it out for free. It's the negative consequences that put a fire underneath you, that should put a fire underneath you. That's why we wake up to do what we do, because we don't want our potential customers, we don't want people out there to go and experience these negative consequences. Cool. So value first networking is exactly that. Moving on. So my role, obviously copy pasting the decision makers' titles and the companies that we just found out in the first two moves, provide one clear quantifiable achievement from your resume. So what is your biggest career accomplishment? That is a common interview practice that you will be asked likely. And it is about the one. So looking back, what is the number one accomplishment you had? Copy paste that bullet point from your resume and drop it in there, because we want to leverage that in our messages in like message three. To pitch yourself, you have to pitch yourself. You have to say good things about yourself. If you're not willing to talk about what your top achievements are, you will not come across as confident. If you don't sound confident, I'm not going to be confident in your abilities. So we'll get there. We have to talk about yourself and brag about an achievement you had, showcase how you've impacted another company, so I can get to trust in your abilities. The whole process I was sharing with you at the beginning of the webinar, like people need to know you, like you, trust you, and then respect you. They get to know you when you have good, clear, concise content on your resume and LinkedIn profile. They get to like you if you communicate with them accordingly, like properly, without begging, without pitching, and with putting value first. They get to trust you when they see you've achieved something of significant for something or for someone else at a different company. And they respect you at the end of the entire interaction. They're ought to respect you a little bit at least before an offer is extended. So respect is a combination of the entire experience, what employers call the candidate experience, what you call the, the, the recruitment experience or the job interview experience or the job searching experience. You need to, at the same time, you need to get to know them and like them and trust them and respect them. Uh, One of my clients, Anuya, she turned down an offer today. It was $110,000 from Johnson and Johnson. We turned it down because we didn't respect the whole process. The interview process was so stressful, and it was not directly with Johnson and Johnson. It was through a recruiting company. So the recruiter himself, Nathaniel, was directly responsible for pushing Anuya away from the job offer, to a point that she was under so much stress, she turned down the offer, you know? So that's an experience that we just went through today, well, yesterday and today, that, yeah, allowed us to just say no to it. Although she doesn't have another job, she's actively looking for work, but it just wasn't worth it, you know? The no like was there, trust was lost at the end of it, but prior to the offer comes in, yeah, it's Johnson and Johnson, you know what I mean? But the respect was lost based on how the recruiting company treated her, because they just went on this pressure campaign of getting her to sign it on that day. And the weirdest thing ever, they put it in the offer letter that she must, in writing, agree to not interview anywhere else, which has no legal binding, like no foundation. It's not enforceable. But what they did to her and the way they were talking to her about that, what she has to do, took the respect away. I talked to her for an hour yesterday. She was in my workshop today. Decided to decline the offer. But that's a real life example of someone who's actively looking for work for months, goes through the entire, on your site, on a job seeker site, goes through the entire process, knows and likes the company, did go through the entire trust process, but trust was lost within 2 days, and there was no respect. So again, that's tough, but that's still a sore spot. It's a frustrating experience. Anyways, identify one shared topic and pain points you both care about. These two are critical. If you don't know what that shared topic is or what the pain point is, what the problem is that you solve, say I don't know, and then do a little bit of research, but say I don't know, so it figures it out for you. But I'm willing to bet you already have a shared topic or a pain point that you solve for companies. There's multiple pain points, multiple problems. So pick the main one, because that's the thing that we need to address. That's the pain point or a shared topic that we're going to talk about, ask about. One of the most effective ways of uh, communicating with someone, messaging someone, expecting them to respond is to ask them a question. And if the question is related to a shared topic or a pain point they're experiencing, the likelihood of them responding is much higher than you just making a statement, especially if the statement that they don't care about, it's all about you or what you get out of a job, what you want out of a job, what you're looking for. That's stuff they just don't care about at this point. Anyways, moving on to what the task is. So again, ask me questions one at a time to gather who I'm messaging, and that's pretty much in the list above. One relevant accomplishment from my background. So again, this we already talked about, but you want to copy paste that. It asks you that question, like, oh yeah, I have that bullet point from my resume. Boom, here it is. Shared topic or problem we're both passionate about. Oh yeah, I understand that. I did a little bit of research on that. This is what they struggle with. That's why they need to hire someone like me. Copy paste. Boom. When I want to send the messages, the timing is important. Perhaps not as important in some jobs, but the timing, morning, noon, afternoon, weekend, depending on the time you're actually doing the work. Uh, if you're doing a normal day, fantastic. If you know that you're working until 9 p.m., you're gonna do this job searching stuff, networking stuff after 9 p.m. That makes a difference. If you're doing it on the weekend, makes a difference. So that's where the timing comes in. Each question under 15 words. If you don't know, say I don't know, give me choices or help me uncover the right info. When ready, write 3 short LinkedIn messages, less than 300 characters. 3 message long is the shortest ever campaign in the history of human beings. This used to be for years, I thought it at 5 messages. So message one, two, three, four. We don't talk about a job. Like it's all about relationship building, building clarity, building enthusiasm, building interest, grabbing their attention. And then in message five, we start pitching ourselves, sharing an accomplishment, asking for a job, seeking opportunities, looking for gaps. So I've shrunk it down to 3, but please don't try to get to message 3 faster than that. You need to go through 1, you need to go through 2, you need to go to 3. And there are many scenarios, especially in bigger companies that are more challenging to get to. There will be a fourth message. There'll likely be a fifth message. I've designed campaigns that are multiple messages, like 8 to 10 messages. Depends on who you are, what you do, especially if you go up to that director level leadership role. Yeah, we got to stretch that out. There's a lot more to uncover. There's multiple shared topics, multiple problems. You got to ask maybe two of those messages will be probing questions you're asking to uncover the root cause of the problems they're experiencing, figure out if they've already implemented the problem that you're thinking about. Hey, have you done this? Have you tried this? Have you tried that? It's a way for you to also share ideas, share your wisdom, especially in a leadership type role. You want to focus on a longer message sequence, longer than 3, but bare minimum, you got to have a 3 message sequence. Um, you got to have this mapped out, for within 3 messages. So here is again the logic or the approach to those 3 message sequence, the format of it. So label each message clearly, write it like so I can copy paste it into LinkedIn, effortlessly. Message 1 is to share that topic hook, open with a connection around a shared issue, trend, or topic. Message 2, highlight the achievement, bring on one win that connects to their world of work. Message 3 is the value and the soft as offer insights or a resource. Ask if they're seeing relevant opportunities. The ending question here, I put in an example. Hey, I'm exploring teams pushing artificial intelligence solutions focused on speech pathology. something like that. It's going to be a specific challenge or a specific shared topic. If we know that we're targeting an AI company that's focused on speech pathology, speech therapy, that will be the shared topic. Any opportunities on your radar. It's a nice, soft ask. You know, guidelines are pretty straightforward in terms of the tone. So peer tone only, no hype, no begging, no attachments. Don't attach your resume. No long intros, no hope you're doing well, no cliches. Just keep it as short as possibly can. No regards. You don't need to put your name at the bottom of it. I always get that question. We're in LinkedIn. Your name is there. They can click on you on your name. Don't try to get fancy with it or trying to look too professional, whatever that is. Just stay on topic. In terms of the bonus last tips, open loops with curiosity says, saw you work on this topic, this solution, and it got me thinking about that. Cool. Like that's a great way to engage someone in a shared topic type of conversation. Ask better questions, no bigger follow, and no bigger, no, not bigger favor. So where do you see speech pathology go, moving forward? Versus, hey, are you guys hiring right now? My wife's a pathologist, so working in cancer research. Last week they started digital pathology and they're being trained on their AI system. So she's actually as a medical specialist with two subspecialties, she's getting trained on her job being eliminated right now. So again, AI is taking over doctors, radiologists, pathologists, speech pathologists, lots of different roles, right? So same thing I told her a couple of weeks ago is like, yeah, you need to be part of this change. You need to be the person who trains this AI because a couple of years from now, you might actually be, an AI trainer working within the cancer research field, just watching over these AIs making cancer diagnosis, you know? So where do you see this topic headed when you ask that from someone who's a hiring manager, who's a leader in that specific field around a specific topic? It gets people to talk about it. Sometimes it's a not so positive experience like what just jumped to my mind is like, hey, my wife's actually going through this after going to medical school for 20 years. Her job's being replaced. That's what came to me, but to that person it might be different. It's like, hey, on the other side of the same coin, the rate of cancer diagnosis, like the accurate correct diagnosis, has increased significantly. And she works with skin cancer and musculoskeletal, like soft tissue cancers. It's crazy. You know what I mean? It's crazy how much more accurate their diagnoses are, right? So it's like, wouldn't you want that? Yeah, it's really exciting. It's really interesting. Although, yeah, a lot of pathologists, a lot of radiologists, people who look at CT scans looking for, cancer cells and stuff. Although, yeah, they're unfortunately being negatively affected, like every one of us. But the final impact, the results we get, like, don't you want to have a better diagnosis on your cancer? Hopefully none of you have one. So that's the thing that we need to focus on. Keep that in mind. People will open up to it. Whether it's the AI thing that we're kind of like talking about right now, or something completely non-technology related. People like to talk about and share their 2 cents on where they see that thing heading. Never ask for something like this. Hey, do you see opportunities? Where do you see opportunities in this field? you know, uh, Anything on your radar. We don't even like to say at your company. Like if they see something and they see value in the conversation you're having, you're not being too direct. You're not writing like you're not giving them any obligatory requests, anything like that. They're not going to like you more. They trust you more, so they're willing to open up to you. Yeah, people reply when they feel seen, when they feel understood, and they don't feel like someone's trying to take advantage of them. You cannot just message people and ask them if they're hiring. Hey, I applied to this job. I get this all the time. I applied to this job. Are you willing to refer me? Hey, can you refer me? It's like, dude, you're a total stranger. How can I refer you? So like that's you shooting yourself in the leg. Don't do that. You need to build that connection. You need to get this feeling across. One simple move, and this we're pretty much done. Send a short friendly follow up 3 to 5 days later if no response. So message one goes out. You can only introduce yourself using the second message to those who accept you. If they accept, introduce yourself right away. The third message is the first follow up message that goes out 3 to 5 days later. If you want to send a fourth message, if 3 to 5 more days go by and they haven't responded to your third message, that's when you send a fourth message. Wait another 3 to 5 days. If they still haven't responded, send message number five. Cool. So that's kind of like that's the time period to wait. How long should I wait? 3 to 5 days. That's plenty, you know. And yeah, most messages, most replies, most conversations become two-way after the second message. Honestly, I want to make that a third message because I don't want you guys to stop after the second message. I need you to go through the entire sequence, which is what I was telling you earlier. Shortest campaign, the shortest ever successful campaign has about 3 messages in there. Cool. So from here on, this is about it. So we went just over an hour. Apologies, the prompts, the third version of the prompts are longer than the previous one. So I guess this turns it into like an hour-long presentation as fast as I possibly went and skipped a few areas, the things you need to watch out for. So something for you to look at. Now to finish this process, to finish the game, to move forward, start using it. Just Mark Twain said, start using it. Every one of these three moves counts. So have intent when you're going through them. If you want some help, if you want some additional guidance, if you see that, what, I like what this guy shared with me, I'd like to, share my personal situation with them. I do offer a free consultation called the Career Fast Track Call. There is an application process. It's not for everybody, but go through, take a look at the 10 questions I ask you. Please provide detailed answers and book that call with me so I can attend to you and discuss your particular scenario, your situation. That way, at least I can give you better clarity, better direction moving forward, whether you end up working with me or not. Or if you're interested, say, what, I'm just tired of doing this by myself. Whatever I've done hasn't worked. That's enough self-awareness. I know that I'm not doing something right. I want to get back to work. The sooner I work, the more, the sooner I make money. Every month that I'm not working, I'm losing something. So how can I invest with you? What does it look like? What does your program look like? Because I do have an all-inclusive career coaching program called the Job Search System that has produced hundreds of success stories. So that's something that we can get into. But first and foremost, you need to understand where you come from, where you are, and where you want to go. And what you learned today, what you learned today, what I'm about to say you right now, it assumes you already know where you want to go. But I do understand that some of you may not actually know what's next for you. You know where you're coming from, you know where you are right now. You're not happy with it, but you also don't know what's the next step, next best step for you is. That's what we aim to clarify and achieve during this fast track call. And then you can come back to this training and say, okay, you know what? I know where I want to go. So now I can confidently execute the first prompt and identify the best fitting employers in the industry, the sub industry, and the niche, or let's say the product category or the tech category that that I'm pretty sure, like I'm sure is the right next best move for me. Cool. So there is a little bit of prerequisite step for you to know exactly where you want to go. So when it's asking you these questions, you're able to confidently answer them. Cool. So with that said, I'm gonna grab this link, copy it. I'm gonna drop it in chat. What you want to do, you want to open it, go to file, and make a copy for yourself. This link will not change. So yes, version 4, you will get the version 4. Just save this link for you, but you won't be able to make notes on it and stuff. You won't be able to personalize it. So go to file, make a copy, and then that's your copy. You can make notes on it. You can personalize it further as you should. And you can always go back to this link, get version 4, which probably will get released. I don't know when, maybe a month from now, maybe probably longer than that. Because this is something I'm actively selling this. People are actively going through it. You guys are going through it. I'm waiting for you to give me feedback, find areas for improvement. I caught a few different mistakes that I made. I went from 20 companies to 10 because 20 was becoming overwhelming. 10 is plenty. If you want 10 more, just run it again with better answers, with more accurate answers. But this is this is something I'm super excited about, and hopefully by the next version, it becomes fully packaged into a, highly affordable, so not $300, maybe like a $30 mini course, or just something I can share with you in these webinars for free. Now, with that said, Let me share my screen. Let me stop sharing my screen. I'll get Albert to give me a minute to
I am here. How's it going?
catch my breath and to go through some questions, and I'll answer any questions you guys have.
I see like 24 people in your document right now. And we have 53 people here.
I
So
know
what?
that's awesome. So please, if you're getting positive feedback, if it's working for you after you use it, please get back to me on LinkedIn. Let me know. Last time was so good. Like within a day, I was like, oh, I used it. People are they actually want to meet with me. What do I do? I'm like, book an interview prep call with me. You know what I mean? Like, I want to help you as best as I can. Either do like a career fast track call if you want to have better results from it. If you don't know exactly what industry, what job, yeah, we need to figure that out. And the 20, 30 minutes that I offer in that consultation is free, it's complimentary, it's plenty enough time. But after that, if you just land on an interview and you're a little bit nervous, practice makes improvement. You know, if you want to improve your performance during an interview, let's practice together.
Okay. So does anyone have any questions after all of this? I know there were some questions from early on. Maybe Nader answered some of these as we were going. Um, if you're wondering, yes, you will get access. Well, you have access to the document now, and we'll be recording it, so you can read that afterwards too. Um, yeah. Let's see, what else do we have here? Um, my question is it good to ask for referrals for 2 to 3 positions in the same company?
Or from the same person.
I think is it okay to ask for 2 to 3 positions at the same company? I don't know if it would be the same person or a different person. But
I
yeah.
mean, if it's a different person, you just don't want to go to this to one person and ask them. I mean, my problem is with the question itself. Like, we're not asking for referral. So if you go through like a message sequence like that, you're not asking, you're never ever going to be asking for a referral. You will be referred, but you're not literally asking for a referral. You're asking for their insights. You're asking for their guidance. You're asking even for advice. You're asking them where they see their company, not even their company, where do they see that technology, that field going? You know, it's never, you're never going to be like, hey, can you refer me? Or it's never that, you know? Does that make sense?
Yep. Yeah, no, you ask for the informational interview and you demonstrate knowledge and commitment and insight, and that will earn you the referral if they believe that you have earned it.
That's it. You don't ask for it. If they believe it, you said it perfectly. Please say it again. If someone's
I'll repeat it again. Yes. So, if you demonstrate a level of insight, commitment, interest, understanding, and just overall knowledge of what's going on at the company, what the role potentially entails, then you will earn your way to a referral.
bingo, perfectly said. You know, if you deviate from that, you will not get a referral. And then after today should not be a surprise to you why you didn't get it.
Yeah.
But that's how it should be done. Someone asked if I do technical interview preps. Yep. I have a development background. I work with a lot of engineers, technologists, developers. Again, yeah, absolutely. From technical presentations to panel interviews to I did a Python test interview prep the other day with the same person, Anuya, who got an offer but turned it down today. You know,
Hmm.
did 2 hours of prep and it went nowhere. But yeah, for sure.
Yeah. What would you suggest to someone who has had a career break of 2 years and is getting back into software engineering?
And that's what I would say. We got to talk about it, you know, because I got to understand where you're coming from, what you have done over the last 2 years. I have a client right now who has like 1 year, 8 months, like nearly 2 years of gap, but he went to a software engineering boot camp, software development boot camp. So he was a materials engineer, worked in the field, went to a boot camp, did some few projects, been working on his GitHub, so now we're getting interviews. He's landing interviews as a software developer again with companies that like his materials science background, you know. So again, what company, what position, and then who do we talk to? We got to figure that stuff out. So for someone like that in a scenario like that, I would say definitely you want to have a conversation because it's just not, I couldn't answer that question. You know, if anybody has a 2 year gap, do this. No, you know that
Mhm.
that stuff you might find on like online articles and YouTube stuff, but it just how do you apply it? It's application that matters. It's what is unique to you. Is who are you? What do you do? You know, what are the skill sets that you have still that are still with you? You know, what can you apply to this next job? You know, what kind of products or programs and systems are you familiar with? How do you apply? How do you approach them? You know, how do you solve them? There's a lot of things. You know, what I aim to do in my interview practice, like training sessions like that, is to help you understand how you're being evaluated, how you're being judged in an interview. You know, it's 1,000 questions, and you need to be familiar with all of them.
Do you do software engineering mock interviews? I know we do. I just see a question in here.
Yep.
Cool. Excellent. Is this program extendable to professionals based in Australia?
Yeah, so like recently we moved to New Zealand, so I'm actually based in New Zealand right now, but all of my work is throughout the US. I get a lot. I grew up in Canada, so I have clients in Canada. I have a client in the UK. I have a client in Australia in Melbourne. Depends, depends on what you do. But I'm location agnostic. I've always been location independent. Although again, like I was telling you, I have clients who want a client Zach wants to move to Germany, you know. Wife's German, want to move back to Germany. I'm like, cool. Where do you guys want to move? Munich. Where are you guys right now? Indianapolis. Fantastic, you know. Let's
And
sit
Munich
down,
has a
go
great
through it,
thing.
figure it out.
Really great startups come out of Munich
Yep.
and
Yeah, no,
Berlin.
that like it's interesting. So I like something like that. A previous client I helped to move from I think Brisbane, don't quote me on that, but got a job at Apple as an optical engineer. So again, I have lots of stories. I've worked with several people in Australia. I used to one of my top recruiting accounts when I was recruiting for Randstad in the mining sector was Lycopodium.
Yeah.
So Lycopodium is a massive mining company, Australian. So I get just depends. Again, reach out. Let's have that one-on-one DM. Like DM me, like, hey, this is what I'm looking for. Would you be interested? Are you knowledgeable? You know, so it depends on who you are, what you do.
Yeah. All right, there's more. Okay. As a recent immigrant with strong skills and experience but intermediate English, I'm curious how much does language impact job opportunities in the US? Do companies still consider skilled candidates who are improving their English?
Yeah. Again, depends on who you are, what you do. I know that the average person who's an immigrant, who English is their second language, they think their language skills are terrible while they're not. You know what I mean? English is my third language, and the average, not the average person, but maybe like half the people I work with, English is not their first language, especially if you're working like engineering or technology. You're probably better than you think you are. We're often very tough, and rough on our own selves. So again, if you have not spoken to someone like me who can give you unbiased feedback on your language skills, that's why I would invite you to book that career fast track call. Because I might come and say, you know what, I think this is for Ziad. You know what? You may just need to take another ESL class, or you need to get into, let's say, an environment where everyone's talking about these subjects and you're listening better, so come join my workshops.
Hmm.
We had 6 people there. Everyone's sharing their own experience. We had Anuya talking about, oh, this offer I got, we're turning it down. Everybody gave feedback, shared their own experiences. So to improve your communication skills, you need to improve your for the application of job interviews. You need to improve your listening skills and your speaking skills in terms of I need to sell myself. I need to tell my story. I need to ask good questions. So that's all we do in our workshops. I do 2 workshops per week, Sundays and Wednesdays at 2 p.m. Pacific.
Hmm.
Another
Okay.
question on do I do embedded systems interviews? Yeah, I'm an embedded software engineer myself, so that's an area of strength. I studied electrical electronics engineering, worked in controls, and my project and work I did was just purely embedded software development.
That's the career that my dad had when he was working. He was an embedded software engineer too.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
All right, let's see. So there's a lot of really super custom questions here that I think can probably be better answered in a one-on-one session, which I think is really great. People are really thinking about details. You mentioned demonstrating knowledge and understanding of a role would earn a referral, but are there any resources or examples you can talk about that can delve deeper into what kind of questions those might be and how you can communicate your own value with the questions? So I'll give my insight on that, and then Nader, you can give yours. My thought is always that you lead with curiosity. You don't lead with the intention of being right. So you see somebody has an open role at their company. Obviously, they're growing. Obviously, there's some insights that maybe you can glean based on their social media, their press releases, their product pages. And so you lead by saying, "Hey, I saw that there was a job. I'd like to apply, and I'd like to talk to you about your company to learn more about what an opportunity might look like for the company as a whole." And based on the conversation that you have with that person, it will lead to the next conversations, next questions, right? So don't think of it as a structured interaction. Think of it as you being a detective looking for more information along the way. And if you come with a script, it will not end well, I think.
Scripts are good just to give you direction,
Yeah.
but to answer the first part of your question, what kind of questions those might be, go through prompt number one, two. By the time you get to number three, it comes up with those questions for you. I fully agree with what Albert said, and like how can you communicate your own value with the questions? Uh,
Because we all do
Again,
different
that's
things.
such an open-ended and high, like, big question. Like, what do you, I don't even know what your value is. I don't know how you presently communicate your value. Maybe you're doing well. Maybe you're doing 3 out of 10, 5 out of 10, 8 out of 10. I don't know. Again, this is where I would say, if you're just sitting there by yourself alone, trying to be like, how can I improve my, no, you need
And
to
there's
get
hundreds
yourself
of
in, you
thousands
need
of
to
companies
assess
out.
yourself,
And there's
you
hundreds
know?
of thousands of companies out there too. So there's no way that Nader or I could, I think, effectively come up with meaningful questions that answers this question specifically. Because every single business unit is doing something different, and every single person has a different experience. Because it's like, it's like, you don't script your let's say when you go out to dinner with friends, you don't script the conversation. It starts with, "Hey, how's it going?" And it ends with, "Great. It was great to see you and the food was delicious." But everything in between is entirely up to how the whole entire night goes. So, yeah.
Yeah, we couldn't give you specific questions. Like again, I'll give you a framework right now. I've already mentioned this framework probably a couple of times, but because I didn't say this is a communication framework, you probably didn't notice it. But
Yeah.
you need to first communicate to them, tell, but tell it so well that it shows them you've done your due diligence, you've studied the company, you understand who they are, what they do, who they serve, because that becomes the company's vision and mission. And then what is stopping them? What is in the way of them achieving their goals as a business, as a company, as a product, as a technology, as a solution, as a service, whatever it is? They have challenges. There are things that need solving, which is why they hire you. So you need to communicate that first. So I understand who you are, what you do, who you're selling to, who your customers are, and what the customers' pain points are, and what are the negative consequences of not having those needs addressed. I know that as a business, this is how you're struggling to perform what you do, to develop your product, take it from this stage to the next stage. You got to do that first. Then, like when you do all of that, you're positioning yourself. You're positioning yourself to come into the conversation as the problem solver, as a solution, as a solution provider. I normally, when I use a movie analogy, I'm like, whenever the movie starts, there's always a bad guy. First of all, you see like feet, you don't see the person, and then comes in, it's like, there's a shooting. It's like, what the hell happened? Like bad things happen, good people die. The bad guy runs away. And like that's where James Bond comes in, doing wheelies in his Aston Martin. Like before the hero is introduced, bad things happen.
Hmm.
There's someone is about to lose something. Like there's a clear goal. There's emotions get involved. So all that has to happen. And that's what's called like the hero's journey. Like you're the hero. So for you to just go through communicating effectively, you have to understand the journey you're on, the story you're a part of, which is why I'm pretty sure I mentioned earlier today, because I always say it, it's not even about you. Job searching is not about you. When you're saying, how do I communicate my own value? It's not about, like, if you don't talk about their goals and their needs and their problems, then your value is not justified. The number one problem everyone makes is they just start talking about themselves. This is the value I can bring to the table. While they don't even know, like, do you even know what we do here? Because you didn't talk to us about it, which means you don't know what we do here. That's how you're judged. That's immediately how you're judged. So there's two different things, two different distinct conversations you ought to have before you talk about yourself. That's how you successfully communicate your value, by talking about who they are, what they do, the problems they face on the path of achieving their goals before you talk about yourself. So that's easy to say as a framework, as a formula, but practicing it, you got to practice, practice, practice in
Yep.
front of someone like Albert, like me, who understands, what that framework looks like, and I can, judge your ability to communicate effectively. It takes work, it takes effort. You got to go to the gym, to get stronger. So when I do interview preps, it's exactly that. I had a question about how do we join those workshops. So those workshops are for my clients. So when you become a client, I'm very hands-on. So we meet 3 times a week, every other day. You do one-on-ones with me. You also have access to the workshop. So if we end up working together, if you were to join the job search system, my flagship coaching program, you get free access to those workshops.
I mean, you give away so much value in just in just one of these today, which is amazing.
This is again, this is
And
me, like
that's why I
what you
work with
guys
you.
went through today. I sell for $300 a pop, a couple of times a week. So I try to help as much as I can, give away. Someone told me you're not good at sales. I'm like, what do you want from me? I'm not a salesperson. I'm an engineer.
I'll tell you, it was a funny story for me because I give so much away too, just like you, and that's why we work together so well. Somebody, because I was trying to sell my boot camp the other day, somebody called me predatory, and I'm like, "Have you seen everything around here?" And it was his
Yeah,
first
have you guys seen what he does? You know what I mean? Like, have you guys looked into the network he's built, and like all these free events he does? Like, now you do it better than me. You
time.
just, like, I've told him, why don't you sell these things, right?
Oh yeah,
I've
we
told
do
him, put
sell things.
prices on these things.
We've got courses and boot camps and all that fun stuff, right? So we make money. It's good. It's important. But I also, have empathy for job seekers. So let's see. Let's do one final question. Alex here, he's a 60-year-old data scientist with Gen AI skills. Is it realistic for him to apply for full-time jobs? And is it offensive to ask for a referral to a full-time job? I'll just say the second question is no, it's not offensive at all. And if it's offensive, that's a them problem. That's not a you problem. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure what you mean by offensive, so we can talk about that in a one-on-one. Take advantage, all you guys take advantage of these complimentary calls I offer, the fast track calls. It gives you clarity, gives you direction, and that actually enables you to go through this the, this training from today and do it more effectively, more successfully. You, again, you don't ever want to worry about offending someone. I'm having feeling maybe there's an experience you've had. You actually have offended someone and they gave you bad feedback. Maybe they blocked you or something. But again, circling back to, you shouldn't ask for a referral. We never ask for referrals. Referral is the result, is the outcome. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, I don't know. I'm just trying to look for analogies. Like, you want to get stronger, you cannot talk to your muscles to get stronger. You go and actually break down your muscles. You exercise. The result, the outcome, the consequences of that is more strength, you know? So the consequences, the outcome of a good conversation is, you know what, Albert? You're a good guy. I like your messages, all your good conversations. You're actually mission driven. You're focused on our product and what this product can do for our end users. It seems you truly care about, the future of cancer diagnosis and pathology. Again, has to be topic specific. So you know what? We have opportunities here. Would you be interested in working in our company? That's the kind of messages we get. That's real world conversation. It ends at, have you considered working in our company? You know, you actually want to be in the position everywhere in life. We want to be in the position that we're being asked, versus us asking. We never feel good when we ask for something. I mean, as a human being, when have you ever felt good asking someone for something? It makes us feel low. It makes us feel
Like, you
weak.
always give them an out. You always say you can say no, or it's okay if you don't want to, but can you do the following? You know,
Yeah.
things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, because especially like none of us are salespeople here. Like you're not going after sales or like business development type roles. We're not here teaching you how to close a deal. You know what I mean? You're not a recruiter like anyone who's in a sales and like, that type of function, business development. You're not here, securing, venture capital or things like that. You don't have to perform, as a ruthless person who's there to close deals and, open and close doors. That's not who we are. That's not who I am. That's not who Albert is. Based on what you guys shared, what kind of roles you're looking for, none of you guys is that. So we don't really want to ask for it. We want to receive it by having the right conversations.
Yep. All right. And then the final thing I have to offer here is that we do free mock interviews on Albert's list too. Non-technical and software engineering, since we have a software engineering coach. Um, the only thing that we ask for in exchange is that you're willing to do it in front of a live Zoom audience because group coaching and coaching for one is coaching for all. And so you don't have to agree to put it on YouTube, but we just put it in front of a Zoom audience so that everyone can learn. And that makes it worthwhile for everybody. So yeah, send me an email and we can get that started. So I think yeah, we're here at the end. So Nader, final thoughts to leave our new friends here with before
I
they
was just gonna say apologies to anyone that we didn't get to answer their message. I know Gerardo was saying, yeah, I'm from Mexico, moved to Canada, background in IT support. I really want to answer these questions, but now again, we have over 40 people here, nearly 2 hours. I can keep going. You know what I mean? I'm good, but for the sake of respecting Albert's time and everybody else's time, these are good questions. I'm scrolling up and I'm like, new questions, new questions. We didn't get to everyone, so thanks for your patience. Thanks for attending. Book that career fast track call with me. Attend Albert's, mock interviews, group sessions. If you really want some hands-on work, we can discuss that in the career fast track calls, but take advantage of that call, gain some clarity, give yourself that confidence. Speaking with someone who can at least give you some honest feedback, because I'm brutally honest, as maybe you got a flavor of that today, but it's the brutal honesty that is missing from a lot of people who are struggling where they are. They talk to family members, they watch a few YouTube videos, they attend one of these calls, they hide behind the camera, and they ultimately don't know what to do next. So I wanna have you go through that conversation. It's going to be difficult, perhaps, but it's necessary.
Yep, yep, yep. All right.
Thank you,
Well,
everyone. Thank you, Albert.
thank you, everybody. We appreciate your time today. We've spent almost 2 hours with you guys. This entire course, or rather this video, will be on our YouTube channel, and we'll be following up with that as well as the link. We also got a ton of other events going on, with one tomorrow, another next week, even during July 4th, and a bunch more in the rest of July. And we'll probably bring Nader back as well, so you can always come back, hang out, and see what new things he's been creating and developing. So we'll have him back. And so with that said, yeah, thank you all so much. We'll see you soon. Best of luck in your job search and let us know your success stories. We'll see you soon. Bye,
You
everybody.
too. Bye, everyone.